G'day guys, Justin here, coming to you with another NBA video, this time a quick catch-up video for my NBA Players of the Week. Now obviously there are only two Players of the Week for the two Player of the Week awards that I've missed. So from January 16th to January 22nd and the week of January 23rd to January 29th, 2018, I have Chris Paul of the Houston Rockets and Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. First player I'll talk about obviously is Chris Paul, who was my NBA Player of the Week from the 16th to the 22nd of January 2018. Now, as we go by the numbers and his game-by-game performances, versus Minnesota, he had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, and 3 steals, shooting a very cool 50% from the field, 50% from deep, which is, awesome, and 75% from the stripe, below his season average, but nonetheless, everyone has an off night. In the second game of that particular week versus the Golden State Warriors, he had 33 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals, while shooting 50% from the field, 54.5% from deep, so very impressive there, and a better shooting percentage from the line at 87.5%. And versus Miami, he had 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists with another 3 steals. So very defensive-minded week here for Chris Paul. 46.2% from the field, which was below average for him during this week. However, 60% from deep was a high, and 100% from the stripe was also a weekly high. And obviously, with those performances, was able to lead the Houston Rockets to a 3-0 team record. His stat line for the week was as follows: at 22.7 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 7.3 assists per game, and 3 steals per game. Now, a lot of people are going to be questioning why his rebound numbers are so high. Well, you will have to look at the fact that James Harden has obviously sacrificed that as the primary ball distributor this season. Although it is questionable, considering there are some reasonable bigs on the Houston team, Chris Paul is a very decent all-around player. He's not great anymore. I think he has dropped down considerably. However, he is able to turn in performances like this in small periods, and this is no exception to one of those. So again, 22.7 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 7.3 assists per game. Again, you've got to look at the sacrifices he has to take on the passing end of the floor with James Harden. And 3 steals per game. Paul is still a good defender. He's no longer a great defender, although he did make All-NBA defensive selection last year. I do feel that he's slightly dropping off, and that just comes with age and games under the legs and whatnot. But 3 steals per game, he's a quality defender, there is no doubt about that. 48.9% from the field, pretty good for a small guy, and in general his shooting excuse me, has always been pretty good. 54.2% from deep is tremendous as well. Excuse me. And his ability to shoot from the free throw line has always been there at 84.6%. So a very well-rounded week there for Chris Paul. As we look at notable opposition, these are the starting point guards of the opposition team in these games. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, we had Jeff Teague, who managed 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 37.5% shooting and didn't make a free throw or a 3-point shot. So obviously winning the battle there. Then we go to Steph Curry when he played Golden State, and Steph only managed 19 points, 1 rebound and 8 assists. Now, people go 19 points, well, he could have just shot threes. As you'll see there, he did have a terrible shooting night. And 2 steals, so yeah, Curry played a little bit of defense, but again, not the caliber of defender that Chris Paul is. Again, as I referred to the shooting numbers of Steph Curry, he only shot 30% from the field and 33.3% from deep. And as you'll see, as we get further into the video, you'll notice that Steph Curry actually has one of the better weeks for his seat, for arguably for his career, and definitely for this season later on in the video. But as I said there, 30% from the field for Steph Curry, 33.3% from deep, and 50% from the charity stripe. Certainly not all-time or very good numbers for Steph Curry there. And then Wayne Ellington actually stepped up to the starting guard position there for the Heat. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Not bad considering he is a contender for a 6th Man of the Year at the moment. Shot a very low 30.8% and 27.3% from deep, and only managed 66.7% from stripe. So as you can see, Curry with his starting matchups, sorry, not Curry, I apologise, Chris Paul with all his starting matchups certainly got the advantage during those games. And just a quick look at his fourth quarter play. Versus Minnesota, he had 4 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, and the 1 turnover. Shot 50% from the field, 100% from the three-point line, and 50% from the stripe. And the Rockets came away with a 16-point win there. Versus Golden State, he had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1 turnover to go with 33.3% from deep. 33.3% from the field, 50% from deep, and 100% from the stripe. So when his shot wasn't falling, he was getting to the line, and he was hitting those big outside shots, which was a bonus for a flawed field game, so to speak. And versus Miami, he had 8 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, and 1 steal. 60% from the field and 100% from deep. Didn't actually take a free throw. And the Rockets won by 9. And if I hadn't mentioned it, the Rockets won by 8 versus Golden State. And just a little note down the bottom here that he actually led the Rockets in scoring in the fourth quarter in the games against Golden State and Miami. The margin at the start of each of these fourth quarters in these games was 1 point against Golden State, 3 points versus Miami, both in their favour. However, against Minnesota, the Rockets held a convincing 19-point buffer, so very limited in his play, obviously, and they were more trying to, work on plays and fundamentals, hopefully. That's what I would have been hoping to do in a game like that. But it certainly wasn't a priority for him to be scoring and taking over the game when it was essentially over. So very good and well-rounded fourth quarter play, and was the leader in the fourth quarter when it mattered. So as we move on to my next NBA Player of the Week for the 23rd to the 29th of January 2018, we have Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Now, I did have a tremendous toss-up here between both he, Russell Westbrook, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I did go with Steph. Now, by the numbers and game-by-game performances, versus New York, Steph had 32 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. Shot 47.4% from the field, 53% from deep, 100% from the stripe. As you can see, already starting to improve on his previous week. Versus Minnesota, he had 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists, along with 3 steals. 64.3% from the field, 55.6% from 3. Tremendously good shooting performance here from Steph. However, 66.7% from the stripe, not as impressive. Would like to see that number a bit higher. And versus Boston, as many of you will know, the big jewel of Kyrie Irving, he had 49 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, and 2 steals. 66.7 from the field, 61.5 from deep, 90 from the stripe. Really can't ask for much more there. With a 3-0 team record, the big match up there being Boston and Kyrie, knowing how well Kyrie has previously played him in the past. So as we look at his stat line for the week, absolutely phenomenal numbers here from Steph. 35.3 points per game, 5 rebounds and 7 assists per game, 1.7 steals. So a very good all-around week here for the chef, so to speak. Unbelievable field shooting. He actually outshot Giannis when you look at the numbers. 59.6% from the field, 56.8% from 3, and 89.5% from the stripe. As I mentioned, one of the better weeks for his career, and one of the better weeks certainly for this season. So a tremendous all-around effort here from Steph, particularly on a very stacked Golden State team. His notable opposition from the starting point guard position throughout that week included Jarrett Jack, who managed 13 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. Shot 44.4% from the field, but 100% from both deep and the charity stripe. Against Minnesota, there was Jeff Teague again appearing in this list, obviously not for the right reasons. 17 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, but outworked him defensively with 2 steals and 3 blocks. 50% from the field and deep, while 100% shooting from the free throw line. And then we look at the big matchup versus Kyrie. Now, I did mention the defensive effort that Curry was been putting in with his steals. However, you need to look at how he plays his opposition. Now, this is Kyrie Irving, had 37 points, 2 rebounds and 4 assists to go with 1 steal. And his shooting was on point, 72.2% from the field, 83.3% from deep, and 75%, a little below average, from the free throw line. Kyrie has always caused problems from Steph. I mean, you've only got to go back and look at those finals duels. I mean, obviously last year Curry certainly had the benefit of it, but you've only got to look at the numbers Kyrie is able to produce and just how well he does play against big name players and in big games. And Boston versus Golden State was a possible preview for the finals if Boston make it out of the East. We look at his fourth quarter play here versus New York. He had 6 points, 2 rebounds, shot 100% from the field and 100% from deep, and didn't take a free throw. He managed to be looking at a win for the team of 11 points, whilst also having a 9-point lead at the end of the third. So a 9-point lead at the end of three-quarter time for the Warriors. Versus Minnesota, it was 3 points, 1 assist, 50% from the field, 100% from deep, and no free throws taken. So decent shooting there. They won the game by 13, but they also led by 13 at the end of the third. Now versus Boston, he had a tremendously big fourth quarter. 15 points in the fourth quarter. Tremendous effort there. 1 rebound and 1 assist. Should say assist, should have fixed that. And 1 turnover. 75% from the field, 50% from deep, and 100% shooting from the stripe. He delivered in the fourth quarter here, Steph Curry. They won the game by 4, although they did lead by 8 at the end of the third. And as I mentioned down here, he tied the Warriors in scoring in the game against New York in the fourth quarter and led the Warriors in scoring in the fourth quarter in the game against Boston. Again, the margins at the start of each fourth quarter of these games was 9 points to the Knicks and 8 points to Boston. However, against Minnesota, the Rockets held a convincing 13-point buffer. So they were my players of the week for the last 2 weeks, and here are the guys who have won my Player of the Week awards so far. I have Giannis Antetokounmpo having won 2 awards, Kyrie Irving having won 2 awards, Kristaps Porzingis with the solitary Player of the Week, along with James Harden, who has 1 Player of the Week award. We have 2 Player of the Week awards to LeBron James and Kevin Durant, 1 each to Russell Westbrook and Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry with what was then his 2nd Player of the Week, and Chris Paul being the 10th player to earn a Player of the Week award with the 1 for him. So guys, that's been me. Thank you very much for watching the video, and hopefully I've brought you up to speed. Hit that like button, leave a comment, let me know who your players of the week were, and subscribe to the channel for more constant content related to the NBA. And follow me on Twitter, Justin_G_Brian, for all things related to the NBA. This is also another place you can find the links to my videos. You'll also find Twitter polls. Poll I ran last time between who would be your MVP. This was after my MVP. Or was it just before? I think it was just before my MVP video that I posted a week or so ago. Who would you have as your MVP between Steph Curry and Kevin Durant? Steph Curry actually won that almost in a landslide. So go over to my Twitter and check that one out to see the result. But again, I will be running more polls at a later date, so please keep your ear out for them. Again, thank you very much, guys. Again, like the video, leave a comment, let me know who your Player of the Week was. Subscribe to the channel for more constant NBA content, and hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Brian, for the latest from my Twitter and my YouTube. Again, this has been my Players of the Week, Chris Paul and Steph Curry.